Hi, my name's Chris from PageNorth, and today I'm going to be showing you how to claim your Google listing. Very straightforward. So for this demonstration, I'm going to use a couple of chip shops from the town where I went to high school. It's about an hour north of Edinburgh. It's a town called Cooper. So first of all, I'm just going to search chip shops in Cooper Fife. So the first chip shop I'm going to go to is called Lebo's. Now you can see right here it says own this business. So I'm going to click on that one. Now if I was an employee of Lebo's Fish and Chip Shop and I wanted to get control of the Google listing so that I could control the opening times, make sure that the correct phone number is there, make sure that the correct link for perhaps home delivery or click and collect is available. All of those options would be open to me once I've got control of the Google listing. So it says here manage now, so I would click on that, and then it comes up with want updates and recommendations for your business on Google. Now for the moment I'm just going to put no because it's not relevant to this particular exercise, but I'm going to click on continue, and we'll just let that make up its mind. So it now wants a way to verify who I am. It wants to know that I am an authorised person on behalf of Lebo's Chip Shop, an employee or somebody who perhaps has been outsourced to deal with their digital marketing, etc. It wants to know that I'm legit. So the telephone number that is already on the listing is shown there. It's 01334 652 855. So a quick way of getting verification would be to click on this button, and a Google robot would call that number, and once the person answers the call, they would get given a 4-digit PIN. And once I click on, if I was to click on the call button, the option would then come up for me to enter that PIN, and then I would have control of the listing. So obviously we're not going to call Lebo's Fish and Chip Shop, but another method is that they could email the email address that they've already got as part of the listing. So that's info@lebos.co.uk. You would click on email, and again, the authorised admin of the listing would receive a 4-digit PIN, and then that would be entered. There's also more options here. You can have a postcard with a PIN sent to the address that's already listed. So Lebo's Fish and Chip Shop, 124 Bonnygate, Cooper Fife, KY1 4LF, United Kingdom. So you could put your contact name on it, so that would be, just put my name, Chris, and that's, and then you would click on post, obviously, and then Google would send you a postcard with the PIN on it, and then you would come back to the listing and it would give you the option to enter that PIN. So that's one way of doing it. Now, those options are showing to me because Lebo's Fish and Chip Shop in Cooper doesn't actually have access to its Google listing from what I can tell currently. But a chip shop in Cooper that I think does have access, and I'll show you why, is called the Central Chip Shop. So it's actually called the Central Cafe, and this is the listing here. So as you can see, it's got the option to order just-eat.co.uk. It's got the opening times here. It's got the correct telephone number. Well, I'm going to assume it's the correct telephone number, but it's got the option here, own this business. So let's click on that, and let's pretend that I'm somebody that's just started at the Central Cafe, and it's been agreed that I'm the person that's going to make sure that the details on the Google listing, such as opening times, etc., are all correct. I can also respond to reviews, I can add photos, I can update the about section, things like that. So to get access to all of these features, I would click on Request Access. So it wants me to select the level of access that I would like. Now, ownership is well, as the name suggests, the complete outright ownership. But because I'm just this hypothetical employee, all I need is management access. So I would select that accordingly. And I'll come back to that in a moment to tell you why those options matter. So my relationship to the business, well, PageNorth is a digital agency. So let's choose agency. Let's just say for the sake of this exercise, I'm an agency. So your contact name, well, my name is Chris. My contact phone number, let's just put a made up one. So I'm going to put 077 985 4231. Just a completely made up phone number. That is a completely made up phone number off the top of my head, by the way. Don't sort of go thinking that you can try and call in it and suddenly get through to me. It's not going to happen. Agency name, well, that's an easy one. Don't need to make that up. So PageNorth Digital. Let the owner of the business see my public profile information and email address. So we've got this email address blurred out because you don't need to know that, but the owner of the Google listing, the owner of the Central Cafe is going to want to know who I am. They're going to want to know that I'm a legit person. So if I click that, well, it does exactly what it says on the tin. Let the owner of this business profile see my public information and email address. It's just to check that I am legitimate, that I am who I say I am. Then I would click submit. So all of these details that I've just filled out, which are on the screen, level of access, relationship, my name, my phone number, who I'm acting on behalf of, all of those details will go to the owner of the Central Cafe. And he or she will say, right, I know Chris, I know why he's requested access to the Google listing, I'm going to authorize that. Then I would, from that point on, have access to the Google listing, have access to the reviews, the details, the opening times, etc. I'd then be able to control all of that on behalf of the Central Cafe. But let's say I'm not a legit person, the Central Cafe doesn't have a clue who I am, they would then reject that. They would know it was some sort of sleek-it malicious business that I was up to. So that's two ways that you can gain access to your Google listing. It's either the case that nobody has got access, such as the Lebo chip shop, nobody's got access to that, so that's one way of going about it. Or if somebody already does have access to your Google listing, then you would need to request the access from them. And the reason I said I would come back to select the access level, either management or ownership. The ownership option, let's say I was a businessman and I was wanting to purchase the Central Cafe outright and become the brand new owner of the Central Cafe. I'd be asking for outright ownership of the Google listing. So that would mean all of the admin privileges, all of that would transfer to me, and the previous owner of the Central Cafe wouldn't have access to the Google listing anymore. This is more than just admin privileges. This is outright for the entire Google listing. So that's what that option means there. If you've got any questions about this, you can always get in touch with us here at PageNorth, and we can elaborate on any of the finer details. But in general, that's the two ways to get access to your Google listing.